The story is now getting bigger by the hour. But I have to tell you, this part of the story about what the Trump administration is doing to the post office on purpose in advance of the election when we're all about to start voting by mail, this whole part of the story all started with one person. The first person who alerted the whole country that this kind of thing was happening is a woman named Kimberly Carroll. She's president of the Iowa Postal Workers Union. She's a longtime postal clerk from the great city of Waterloo, Iowa. And she did an interview with NPR this week in which she surprised her interviewer by saying something that had not been reported anywhere else. Quote, mail is beginning to pile up in our offices, and we're seeing equipment being removed. The news was such a surprise that the NPR interviewer was sort of caught off guard by what Ms. Carroll said, asked her to explain. She explained that sorting machines were being removed at her own facility in Waterloo and at postal facilities across Iowa. And she made it clear that this was not about trying to help save money. This was not going to save money. Quote, I don't see this as a cost-saving measure. I see this as a way to undermine the public confidence in the mail service. Well, joining us now is Kimberly Carroll, president of the Iowa Postal Workers Union and a postal clerk in Waterloo, Iowa. Ms. Carroll, thanks for your work at the Postal Service, your work in the union, and thanks for helping alert the country that this was going on. We didn't know before you said it.
Well, I appreciate that you have taken up the story and made the public aware of what's happening. So thank you.
Well, you know, it would be a lot easier for us to report on these sort of major and consequential changes at the post office if they were announcing that they were doing these things. Major policy changes at the post office, particularly ones that are going to affect when and whether people get their mail, seem like the sort of thing that we would previously have the post office kind of put up for public debate, put them out for public comment. But this stuff with the sorting machines, some of the other things they've done in terms of overtime rules and giving postal workers different directions about how to handle mail and when not to bother to deliver it. This has all just been stuff that we found out from you guys. They haven't been making public announcements about these things. At least that's how it seems from the outsider. Is there a part of this a public-facing part of this that we've just been missing?
No, I think that it was a deliberate act to avoid public comment. Because in the past, they have tried similar types of changes where they were closing post offices or closing plants. That happened not too very long ago, and the public rallied behind the Postal Service and stopped that, got a halt to closing plants and post offices in order to protect the service standards and what we do for the public. So I think it was deliberate to make sure that the public didn't have an opportunity to comment and get them to stop what they were doing.
Now that we do know what they're doing, and people are starting to feel the pain in terms of slowed and more erratic service, what sort of public feedback do you think would make a difference? We covered a story at the top of the hour about people being very mad about curbside mailboxes, about postal collection boxes being taken off the streets in Montana. That seems to have led to a halt on that practice around the country after some outrage was expressed about it today. What do you think they will respond to in terms of these things they're doing to slow down the mail?
Well, I think the public needs to be communicating directly with the post office, and also they need to be getting their senators to be taking action to take away the justification for all of this. Because let's face it, the reason that they are giving for all of this is a cost-saving measure because of the financial situation that the Postal Service finds itself in. It's important that the public understands that if we were to get the COVID finance, the COVID relief, that would take away the justification that DeJoy and the Postal Service has for taking these drastic actions so immediately. So it would be critical for the public to be putting pressure on the Senate to and then make sure that the president doesn't veto that. Unfortunately, we have been a part of all of the relief conversation because we've continued to provide services to the public. But in each and every time that has come up for ratification, we have been essentially line item vetoed before it actually got to the president. So it's important that we continue to put that kind of pressure. And what happened in Montana is very encouraging to me because that is showing that the pressure does work. So I'm energized by all of that.
Me too. That is, it's the first encouraging. I feel like I've been kind of despondent seeing a lot of small d democracy stuff getting undermined and feeling like there wasn't much anybody could do to stop it because it felt sort of extra legal or outside the system. I think you're right that it is encouraging to see what happened today in Montana. I will also tell you that it makes a huge difference that you, as a postal clerk, were able to tell us about them taking that sorting machine out of your office in Waterloo, Iowa, and to let us know that that was happening in other offices around Iowa. That is what broke open this story so that we knew that some of these unannounced changes were happening at a very serious level all over the country, and we wouldn't have known that without you. So, Kimberly Carroll, president of the Iowa Postal Workers Union, thanks for your service. Thanks for helping us understand what's happening here.
Thank you for bringing the story to everyone's attention. Thank you.